You know what nobody ever talks about? The way your brain turns on at 2 a.m., like it's been waiting patiently all day for the silence to arrive. And the moment everything goes quiet, a conversation comes back. Something someone said 3 days ago. A moment where you said the wrong thing or didn't say anything at all, and you've been running the better version in your head ever since. A look, a pause, a sentence that ended just slightly wrong. It plays again and again. And no matter how exhausted your body is, your mind simply won't let it go. Most people call this overthinking, a problem to fix, something to manage with sleep routines or breathing exercises or a stricter relationship with your phone. But psychology has a different explanation entirely. What happens in your brain at 2 a.m., the replaying, the reconstructing, the quiet obsessing over moments that are technically already over, is not random. It is not a personality flaw. It is your brain executing a very specific process, just at the wrong hour. Here's what's actually happening, and why understanding it might finally give you a way to make peace with it. The first thing to understand is what your brain switches into the moment external demands disappear. Neuroscientists call it the default mode network, a system that activates not during focused work, but specifically during rest, when inward attention takes over. When you stop doing things and simply exist, this network comes fully online. During the day, it's actively suppressed. Every conversation, every task, every screen keeps it quiet. But the moment you lie down with nothing left to process, the default mode network takes over. And here's what matters. One of its primary functions is social cognition, processing relationships, revisiting interactions, evaluating your place among the people in your life. This is why it's almost never work problems that come back at night. It's conversations. Because in its natural resting state, your brain is a social processing machine, and it saved those interactions for exactly this moment. The second thing happening is how your brain handles emotional memory during the night hours. Not all experiences are stored the same way. Moments that carried emotional charge, conflict, confusion, something that felt unresolved or slightly off, get flagged for deeper processing. Psychologists call this emotional memory consolidation, and it happens most actively as you move towards sleep. Your brain returns to these flagged memories specifically because they haven't been closed. A conversation that ended cleanly, where you felt understood, where everything landed the way it was meant to, doesn't come back. But the one where something was wrong, where the tone didn't match the words, where you left not quite sure what just happened, that one stays open. The replay isn't your brain punishing you. It's treating that memory like an unfinished file, returning to it again and again, searching for a resolution that wasn't there in the moment. Here's what makes this particularly worth understanding. Research consistently shows that people with higher levels of analytical intelligence and emotional sensitivity experience nighttime replay more intensely than average, not because they're more anxious, but because their brains are fundamentally oriented toward extracting meaning from experience rather than simply moving past it. If your mind is built to understand things deeply, it doesn't release unresolved social data easily. It keeps processing. It keeps searching for the explanation it hasn't found yet. The thing you were trying to understand in that conversation, about the other person, about yourself, about what was really being communicated beneath the surface, your brain hasn't let it go because, by its own logic, it genuinely isn't finished. Now consider this for a moment. Everything so far, the default mode network, the emotional memory loop, the deeper processing, none of it is a disorder. None of it is a malfunction. It is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. But that doesn't make 2 a.m. any easier. So let's go deeper into what's actually driving the loop, and why some nights it runs louder than others. The loop intensifies when something in the interaction genuinely mattered to you. That sounds obvious, but it's worth sitting with. You don't replay conversations with people you don't care about. You replay the ones where your sense of connection, your self-image, or your understanding of someone important is still uncertain. The intensity of the loop is a signal, not about the conversation itself, but about what the conversation represented. A moment where you felt unseen, a response that didn't make sense, something that hasn't settled yet. Your brain isn't being irrational. It's flagging something as unresolved because emotionally it actually is. And until something shifts, the loop continues. At its core, the 2 a.m. replay is your mind attempting three things simultaneously. It's trying to understand what actually happened. It's trying to construct a better version. One where you were clearer, more understood, more fully yourself. And it's trying to process the emotional residue, the feeling that lingered long after the words ended. These aren't irrational goals. They are deeply human ones. The problem isn't that your brain is pursuing them. The problem is the timing, because at 2 a.m., with no new information and no way to return to the actual moment, the loop has nowhere productive to go. It simply runs, and runs, and runs. Here's what psychology ultimately invites you to consider. The fact that your brain replays conversations in the middle of the night doesn't mean you're fragile, or too sensitive, or permanently stuck. It means you're someone for whom interactions carry real weight, someone whose mind keeps working on the parts of the day that actually mattered. That is not a flaw. That is a brain that takes people seriously, that takes understanding seriously, that refuses to move past something until it makes sense. The question isn't how to make it stop. The question is what your mind is trying to tell you about the relationship, about the moment, about what you still need. Because somewhere underneath all those replays, there is almost always something worth listening to.